All right, guys, what is up? Welcome in another episode of GC Live. Wes Mitchell here, Chris Clark. Going to talk a little bit of NFL draft today. Going to dive into some South Carolina men's basketball, both on the transfer portal side and on the staffing side, as South Carolina still has a couple of holes to fill there. And got I thought, really interesting interview with Rasul Faison that we're going to play. Talked to him a couple of days ago just about really kind of his entire experience, what it was like at South Carolina, what was it like going through the NFL Combine, the Pro Day, talking to all these NFL teams. Obviously, this past season didn't go quite the way he wanted from an on-the-field standpoint, but I think he still learned a lot about himself and developed as a running back, something he'll talk about in the interview when we get to that here shortly. But first of all, I'm going to tell you about a couple of our great sponsors. First, our guy, Clint Hammond, CMG Home Loans, our presenting sponsor here on the show. ClintHammond.com, 803-422-6797, NMLS number 71597. As we always tell you, if you're in the market for a new home, hit up Clint. If you're not yet in the market for a new home, but think that is something you're looking to do one day and just want to kind of have a feel for what that even looks like, how much money do I need saved, how much am I looking at paying per month, what about my property taxes and escrow and all these different numbers or thoughts or terms you've heard thrown around, Clint will walk you through that entire process. Again, hit him up today, 803-422-6797.
And along those same lines, if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, maybe you're not right now, but if you're thinking about it or if you're definitely in the market, hit up our friends at Ferry Chevrolet. Joseph Ferry, fourth-generation dealer, a business that began right here in the Palmetto State way back in 1926. So been around for 100 years. You're doing something right. FerryChevrolet.com, Fairey, Chevrolet.com, or give them a call, 803-937-4531. Could walk you through your financing options. You can check out their inventory online at FerryChevrolet.com. Great new and used vehicles with great service, honesty, integrity, a handshake. That's how they started the business. That's still how they run it. So if you're in the market for a new used vehicle or will be at some point, all we ask, give Joseph Ferry and his team at Ferry Chevrolet an opportunity to earn your business.
All right, man. Draft is right around the corner, Chris. Later on this week, I feel like it actually has snuck up on us a little bit just with everything else going on in Gamecock athletics. But it's here starting Thursday. We'll see how many Gamecocks get their names called. And I feel like there's a little bit of sense, at least from my perspective, man, of we kind of know who the first couple of guys are going to be for South Carolina. They're going to get picked. The big question has just been when, obviously, and where do they end up going. There was some of that early, I would say, buzz for Cisse, as possibly being a first-round pick. I know that's something we had kind of said, hey, maybe the reporting, maybe the media stuff is getting a little bit ahead of themselves in some of these draft projections on what the actual NFL intel is there. But still, I think most people have thought Cisse will go first for South Carolina. Then Jalen Kilgore, at some point after that. I was just reading what Kevin put up, Kevin Miller on Gamecock Central. He just did an update. And, that, there's all these different draft experts and analysts and stuff that will put out their opinions based on what they're hearing. So this for Mel Kiper, one of the originals. He has Brandon Cisse as the number 47 overall player in the 2026 NFL draft, and he has Jalen Kilgore at number 86. Kiper also high on Nick Barrett, ranking him number 120. So, I think, let's see. Yeah, 120 would put you right at the end of the fourth round or so. And as we know, just being listed as the number 120 player, the number 86 player, whatever it is, it doesn't mean you're going to get drafted in that slot. A lot of it's going to come down to what the team needs are. Did they feel that need earlier? Do they need to feel that need now? All those different things. But that is just sort of where things are right now with a few of their guys.
Yeah, and a lot of variables in the draft. Wes, the later you get in the draft, if you're sitting there going, hey, this guy has a chance to sneak into the later rounds, but he's a 6th rounder, a 7th rounder, you can always go a little bit earlier. You can always get picked. Maybe you fall out and you're a priority free agent, right? And you're finding yourself in that situation, which, at times, if you're a late round pick, it's almost better. People talk about that in some instances to be an undrafted free agent. And look, last year we all thought Nick Eamon, this guy's a first round pick, based on what he did on the field, based on what he did at the combine, at pro day, all that stuff. Ends up going in the second round. He was the second safety taken off the board, but he still ends up going very, very early in the second round. Look at what he did on the field this season for the Super Bowl champs. He was clearly a guy that is a first round talent, right? But even that type of guy doesn't always end up being exactly what you thought on draft day. And certainly the later you get in the draft, the more kind of a crapshoot it becomes. I think they've got several guys, South Carolina, in this draft that all have kind of a range that they could go in. It would be a surprise if Cisse is not the highest drafted guy. But I think he has a range, right? First round would be best case scenario. I don't think it's as likely as maybe second, third, even fourth. And then I think the two guys that we definitely expect to hear their names called are the two you just mentioned in Jalen Kilgore and Nick Barrett, who Nick Barrett is one of the guys that I haven't seen a guy rise like that, Wes, in quite a while, to go from not on an NFL radar really at all going into a season to becoming a mid to late round NFL draft pick. And then there's some others that, you'll certainly be tracking maybe to sneak into a late round, but if not, getting opportunities after the draft wraps up as undrafted free agents.
Yeah, for sure, man. And, I think when you look at Cisse, the big thing for him going into the pro day was, hey, what is he going to run? And, in the 40, I think he answered some of those questions. His official time was a 4.40. Still not the biggest guy in terms of your NFL corners. He's not that 6'1", 6'2", long arm guy, listed 5'11" and a half at South Carolina's pro day, 189. Now he has the 41-inch vertical from the combine that carried over, 10-11 broad jump. Those are excellent numbers for him. Ran a 4.33 shuttle at South Carolina's pro day too. So there, this kid's going to get drafted in a fairly high position. It's just a matter of where you end up. And, there are advantages to there are pros and cons to any of this, I think, man, is the way you have to look at it. Like Leggett, remember there was will Leggett be a first round pick or a second round pick? Nick Eamon was in a similar situation. And for Eamon, what looked like it might be a negative, actually it's going to end up being a huge positive for him because, yes, you may not get the bigger contract based on what the slotted value is for that first round pick, but by going into the second round, you actually have one less year on your automatic rookie deal. So if you come in and if you kind of bust, then teams can actually get out from under you a little bit earlier. But if you're Nick Eamon and you come in here, dude, and you just tear it up, like this guy's already being talked about as an NFL star, you start looking way ahead. Like if Nicky stays healthy, I mean, what would that second contract look like? Because I think the thing with him, Chris, you know how sometimes you'll see guys will like have that conversation about, well, hey, do I count as a tight end or do I count as a wide receiver? Like there's a couple of kind of hybrid guys where they're trying to fight to be counted as one because of sort of what the pay scale is on that. Dude, Nick is such a versatile guy. Are we getting ahead of ourselves? Like he may reset the market at that position if he keeps playing the way he is playing right now, the way he played in his first year. So I think for him going ahead and falling just a little bit into the second round actually ended up being couldn't have picked a better fit in terms of team, but also it's a better contract situation, even if it's a lesser contract right off the bat. So you never know, man, like how much of NFL success, like I hate to say it's luck when you know how hard these guys work to get in the position they're in. but there is absolutely some luck involved in the right franchise picking you at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Nick Eamon would have loved to have been a first round pick because that's what he expected. You can say you were a first round pick, but I think he's probably totally good with this situation, right? When he quote unquote falls to the early second round and goes to a team that was already in a really, really good spot, had a defensive minded coach, had a lot of pieces around him on that defense in a defensive system that was going to be able to deploy his incredible skill set in the way that we saw it deployed. And, to go back to your point about the contract, I remember we had his high school coach from Irmo, Aaron Brand, on our radio show a while back. And his prediction was Nicky Minori is going to reset that market, for a safety or whatever you want to call him. I was just looking, Wes, right now, the highest paid safety in the league, just for context, Kyle Hamilton, another freak type guy, $100 million contract. He makes $25 million a year. Highest paid nickel is about $13 million a year. So I'm thinking Nick's probably saying I'm a safety for these purposes, right? Even though he can do a lot of different things for you. But that's the type of, are we going to be shocked in a few years if Nick Eamon is the highest paid safety in the NFL, if you categorize him as that, which would probably by default make him the highest paid position player ever at that position in history. Every year we see a new contract at a certain position, and that is always resetting the market in terms of historical value. Nicky could be that guy, at his position. So it is, to your point, a lot about landing in the right spot. That gets talked about with quarterbacks a lot, right? In year one, rookie quarterbacks. But I think it's very valid for other positions too. And Nick found himself in a great spot. You hope for South Carolina's guys, as South Carolina fans, that they land in the best possible spots for them, whether it's somewhere they're drafted or opportunities they get in the free agent market after the draft.
Yeah, for sure, man. Going through a couple of these other ones, there's one on NFL.com that, and I also, admittedly, I feel like once you start getting into the late rounds, it absolutely is impossible to predict what spot a guy's going to go, where he's going to go, if he's going to be drafted at all. Like it is borderline impossible. This NFL draft one, actually, this is from Chad Reuter of NFL.com. He has Kilgore going as the first Gamecock selected at number 71 overall. And then Cisse 3 spots later at 74. And Rasul Faison, who we're going to hear from here in a second, at number 249 to the Colts, the last pick of the draft before the compensatory selections begin at 250. And wouldn't you be pretty shocked if Nick Barrett did not get drafted at this point? Like,
yes,
he's going to get drafted, right? I feel like,
I would say shock.
Yeah, this mock does not. This was a 7-round mock draft. Did not have him getting drafted. That would surprise me, man. Kuiper has Nick as the number 10 interior. Yeah, number 10 among all interior defensive linemen, which is, man, that's a pretty good spot to be in, considering you were a redshirted. Not a redshirt senior. You were a redshirted senior the prior year.
That's right.
You did not play. There were guys in front of you. Now, some of this was such a talented room, dude. Like, it really was. And Nick has stayed the course. He got, I feel like he was pretty healthy this year and just put it all together. But somebody is going to look at Nick Barrett and be like, man, there is a lot of what we look for at this position. Add in, just some leadership traits, some off the field, some just a guy who does things the right way. I mean, Chris, I've heard reports of Nick Barrett in this very moment in time being at the facility late at night, getting in individual D-line workouts at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday or something. So
yeah,
the guy puts in the effort, the guy puts in the work. I for one will be very happy, and I don't even know him like that, but I'll be very, very happy for Nick Barrett to potentially end his journey from college to the NFL ranks by being I don't know what's a good spot for like fourth. I think if he gets in the fourth round, that's pretty strong.
That's probably his, highest.
Ceiling?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best. And again, that's a little later. You're getting into mid rounds, later rounds, and so there can always be some slippage there, just depending on what teams have filled and where they are on the board at that point. But yeah, I mean, I will say I'm trying to get some updates today, but Barrett, it seems like his higher range is 4, and the lower range would be 7. I'm with you. If he doesn't hear his name called, that would be a big surprise, if not a shock. But man, I mean, to your point, man, like this should be, for all the talk about guys never stick around anymore. This should be a guy that's really been celebrated, and I know last season for South Carolina, the way that it went from a wins-loss standpoint is playing into this. And what Nick Barrett does, his play style is not as flashy because of the type of player he is. But man, this dude improved more than, I mean, I can't think of many guys, if any, that improved as much as he did. You already mentioned he took the super unselfish step of redshirting the prior year so that he could come back, focus this year. He improved a ton on the field. He got a lot better as a pass rusher. He stepped up as a leader when they really needed him to. You remember we sat down with Shane Beamer before the season, and he said, hey, Nick Barrett is someone who needs to be a leader for us. And he was that, throughout the course of the season. They needed more of that, of course, but he was that for them. So, former lower to mid 3-star guy, stayed at the same school 5 years, redshirted last year, came back and really, really improved his stock. So it's a great thing for him. And he's going to get a chance to go play pro ball, and not only a chance, he's going to get drafted, which I think is awesome for him.
And Chris will be one of the final, trying to go through my head right now, is to be one of the final pre-Beamer commitments.
Yep.
To cycle through the program, right? Because he committed, he was a Drew Hughes when Drew Hughes was the director of player personnel.
Yep.
I think he was a big Drew Hughes commitment.
2021 class. Yeah. None of those other guys from that 2021 recruiting class are on the roster. Some of them have been long gone, because some of them were transfers, of course. Zeb Nolan was in that class as a transfer, but, TJ Sanders, who wasn't even on the team last year, was in that class. So he's really the last of that era, because that was Beamer's, first recruiting class. Kinda, it was mostly inherited, and then some portal pickups, of course.
Yeah, because Nick was already committed.
Yep.
To the program before, but stuck around, believed in Beamer, and you would have had. So Luke would have been the last guy remaining from the 2020 class, and he's obviously not on the roster anymore, but is coaching on the team, so not technically gone. But that's now it's all Beamer guys, and it's been almost all Beamer guys. Let's be honest, but it is all Beamer guys. I believe it would have to be from this step forward. So, what do you think? I think Jalen Kilgore is a guy, man. I got a feeling there's a team out there that's just probably fallen in love with this guy. Like, I feel like Cisse has the early buzz, but Kilgore, man, this kid has been a really, really good football player for 3 years too. Has some of the same, like with both these guys, you're talking about check all the boxes from a character standpoint. Kilgore's going to have the height. Kilgore's going to have I can play nickel, I can play safety more than likely, where I think Cisse, it's going to be, are you a nickel, are you a corner? I think whether Cisse or Kilgore is the nickel you want probably depends on your scheme, probably depends on what you value at that position. If you want a little bit of a bigger, kind of almost true hybrid linebacker, safety, nickel, corner type at that spot. Kilgore's probably your guy. If you want a little bit more of a coverage guy in your nickel back, Cisse is probably your guy. Or maybe you see Cisse as a true corner. I don't know. But I think those conversations are probably going to have an impact on where these guys end up as well. Some other guys, Chris, that were on at least Kuiper's list. He has Brian Thomas Jr. as the number 51 edge rusher. So, pretty far down the board there. Unfortunately, hopefully he can find an opportunity somewhere. DQ Smith, number 36 player at his position. We'll be looking for an opportunity. And Faison, number 23 among all running backs. And perfect segue, I think, to get into our Rasul Faison interview here, man. But before we do, what's your expectation for Rasul? Like and this is something we got into with the interview. He feels like, and I'll let him speak towards it, but real quick, I'll kind of preview it. There's a lot of stuff out there like, oh, this guy played at 7 schools, or, he's like, that's just not true. Like, he is a little bit older player, but he thinks people act like that means he has 7 years of load on his legs as a running back, and that he's been banged up that entire time. But essentially, it's like the implication of, oh, he's been to all these different schools, but he's like, that's really not the case at all.
Yeah. No, it is an interesting point because, and that's a chief reason why he was able to play. If he had actually played 7 years of college football, he probably wouldn't have got cleared to play for South Carolina last year, right? I mean, 2023, you go back and look at what he did at the college level, took 118 carries. 2024 at Utah State, 198 carries. And then last year at South Carolina, he had 96 carries, and of course spent the time at junior college at Snow, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. So this is not a guy that, although he's been at the college level, whether it's junior college or college for a while, he doesn't have the mileage, that even some backs that are frankly probably younger than him have on his legs. So, I think, Wes, just the feedback I get, again, crapshoot, because probably going to be a later round guy if he gets picked, but probably one of those 7th round or, preferred undrafted free agent type guys. But certainly hope he gets an opportunity because, you said it to kick off the show. Season didn't go how he or anybody else wanted or envisioned, but you could see the flashes, at times with Rasul Faison, and he's put some good stuff on tape at the college level, whether it was some of the stuff here at South Carolina or during his time at Utah State as well.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. This will be just from a couple of days ago, me sitting down with Rasul Faison, and then Chris and I will be back to close out the show. Hey guys, welcome back into the Gamecock Central podcast. Wes Mitchell here, joined by a very, very special guest. We're checking in with former Gamecock running back Rasul Faison in a very important time in his life right now, getting ready for the NFL draft coming up very, very soon. Rasul, first of all, man, how have you been doing? What you've been up to? And we certainly appreciate you taking the time today, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. And I'm doing really well right now. Just, trying to keep my mind clear because, getting ready for the draft, I've been like overthinking a lot and just not knowing what's next for me, and I'm just like definitely grateful to be in this position though. And I've just been training and just being around my loved ones, things like that.
Yeah, I'm always curious about what the lead up looks like for guys like yourself during this time.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had you had the NFL Combine, you had Pro Day. There's like all these kind of pressure packed days where just all eyes are on you. I'm sure interviews with NFL teams and scouts and people asking you a bunch of questions. You obviously have to do your own training just to make sure that you're ready when the day does come. So, can you take the Gamecock fans out there who may be watching or listening just through a little bit of what right now looks like for you in terms of training and all the different things that are going on?
Yeah, so after the combine, actually after the combine, I went back to Florida and trained for a little bit longer because I did my training in Florida, and then I came here a couple days before pro day, and I've been in South Carolina ever since pro day ended, just training at the facility. I actually got to go home to Philly, to Pottstown outside of Philadelphia for a little bit, and I went to go speak to my high school, things like that. But really just training every day, like, just staying ready so I don't have to get ready when that day comes, and just trying to prepare myself for what's next.
What was the combine and the pro day experience like for you? Just how does it compare to like a game day where you're going out there, with your teammates? You're part of 11, 10 other guys on the field, and I just gotta imagine it's just a different feeling. Like it's football, but it's not really football. All
Yeah.
eyes are on you. What was that experience like? Also, from like a mental standpoint of going out there, running important 40-yard dashes, important shuttles, and just everything that goes into this right now.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a great experience just being around, my peers and with players that's play the running back position, getting ready for everything. So it was great to be around them, to get to know different guys. But it was and it was just a blessing to be there. But it was just fun. Like it just, once I got out on the field, at first, I was a little nervous before I got out there because it was a big stage, and once I got out there, everything calmed down, and it just was like a regular workout. To be honest, like it was super quiet in the indoor. Like I didn't know really what to expect. So like once I got out there, like to start my workout, it was like super quiet. So I just locked in and just treated it like any other workout.
Yeah, for sure. I know you just mentioned you got to go back to your hometown and speak to your high school. What was that like to sort of be in that role model position? And there are guys there that may be fast forwarding a few years from now in your spot right now. How cool is it to have some younger generation guys looking up to you and just wanting to hear what you have to say?
Yeah, it was definitely cool because I got to work out with them as well. So I did a workout with them, and then after I just talked to them and just gave them the game and things I learned over the years, and so they make their journey a little easier. Hopefully, they took my advice, things like that. But it was just a blessing just to be back home and actually my quarterback in high school is the head coach of the team now. So it was my first high school I went to, so it was just fun being around them and just spending time with them.
Yeah, special moment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I want to say when we talked to you before the season, I don't even know that you had been given the word from the NCAA yet during
Yeah,
that
I don't think I
conversation.
was. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I think we're in the wait and see mode at that point. I know you've
Yeah.
talked about it a little bit, to the media in the past, but um, man, what was that whirlwind like of just having to, I know that it was like the NCAA wanted some more information, more information. How involved did you have to be? Was that like, were you having to come back and speak to people, or what was basically like the administrators just handle all that and you're just
Yeah.
waiting? What was all that entire process like for you just going through it?
Yeah, it was. I was like kind of like I didn't have to really speak to too many people. But the administrators and my lawyer, they kept me in a loop of everything that was going on. So it was really just a waiting game, honestly. And it felt like forever because I thought I would have got the waiver back like a lot sooner. So, but like
Mhm.
once camp came and I still wasn't cleared, and then at first I wasn't able to practice, and then they had to prepare for a game without me or in the season without me. So like it was definitely rough as things got closer because it was just like it just started getting I just started doubting it, like thinking I wasn't gonna be able to play. So
Mhm.
but I definitely had all my support, like all the support like from my coaches, my teammates, things like that. So it made it a lot easier. I could definitely say that.
How do you kind of frame up your year at South Carolina, given that I know that the yardage total probably was not what you envisioned
For
for you
sure.
having in your final year, but then you mentioned your coaches having your back, them kind of fighting for the waiver.
Yeah.
Some things I'm sure just didn't quite play out the way you wanted, but how do you kind of sum up just your experience overall?
Yeah, it was definitely not the year I wanted to have for sure. It was just like I just feel like I wasn't able to show everything I could do. And it was due we had like a lot of injuries up front, things like that, a few different play callers. So, and we wasn't able to just run the ball as much as I thought we would. And that definitely was obviously affected in how much yards and things like that, like personal stats. But like, yeah, I definitely learned a lot of good, valuable lessons going forward. Like, in it, and I got to like work on my game in other like situations. Like, I feel like I got way better in the pass pro game, which is going to be super important with me going into the NFL. So. I got a lot better in pass pro, got a lot better just like reading blitzes, like thing I felt like I really need to improve on from the 2024 season. And it just like this year it helped me shape me into a 3 down running back. I feel like so it's definitely I got some positives out of it for sure. Like
What what will a NFL team get in Rasul Faison if they put their faith in you and select you here coming up with the draft?
yeah, they're gonna get someone who's ready right now, ready to compete, ready to win. They're gonna get a dog. You know what I'm saying? Like someone who I would say that just someone who had the odds against them their whole life and just continue to come out on top. And like I don't, I like to say like I'm not even supposed to be here like right now. Like if you see my life from from the start to where I'm at now, like what it's no way I'm here right now, and I made it through it all and continue to persevere and overcome all the obstacles that was put in my way. So you're gonna get someone that's just has a chip on their shoulder every time I get out on the field, and someone who's ready right now for sure.
You do you lean on the adversity you've been through? Like you seem like you lean on it, but you're not pissed off about it. Like you kind of approach life with a smile on your face, at least from
Yeah.
my interactions with you. How do you kind of walk that line between using some of the adversity you've been through to motivate you and keep you going, but not just going through life like, just ticked off about everything?
Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like, you know, I'm grateful that I went through it all because it made me to be not only the football player, but the person I am off the field. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I feel like it just built me, it allows me to play with a chip on my shoulder, everything I've been through, things like that. So, makes me hungrier, make me work harder, all kinds of things. So I'm happy I went through everything I've been through. So I don't take back any of it. Like I hear people, talk about my age, all things like that. But like if you look at how much I've been through to get to this point, and then you know what I'm saying, like I feel like that's just like you're not really looking into my story when you just keep talking about, oh, he's 26, he's 26. Like it's just like it's so much more than that.
Is there anything about your story that you would want people to know? Like if they hear you talking about this, talking about the adversity you've been through, like when people hear about Rasul Faison, what do you want them to know or kind of remember about your journey to this point?
Yeah, definitely that I just overcame, so much, and then I just never stopped fighting, and my love for the game is unmatched. Like most people that if they was put in my shoes, they would have been quit this journey, but I never gave up because I knew like one day I was gonna get to where I'm at today. So I would definitely just say that, and I just want people to get my story right. Like people say I've been like 7 schools. I only played 4 years of college football. For like I played a half of a JUCO year, 2 years at Utah State and South Carolina. So and my injury history is clean. So regardless how old I am, I'm healthy as possible. I'm healthy right now. I'm ready right now. So I mean, I'm not really worried about what the outsiders are saying.
Yeah, so just some exaggerations out there about how many schools you were at and
Yeah,
just
it's
kind of
just like I just look at some of the stuff. I'll be on Twitter just scrolling, just chilling, and it'll be like 7 schools he been playing for. I'm like, bro, like my first year playing football was 2022 in college.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
I be just like just letting them talk. They don't even know what they're talking about.
What have the conversations with NFL teams been like for you? Just because you always hear this time of year, like I don't know, man. Like I hear about sideways questions, like crazy questions. Has
Yeah.
has it been interesting, or has it just been more just kind of chill? Like normal questions. Has anybody not? I mean, I wouldn't probably say who did, but has anybody asked you like some off the wall questions or anything?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people ask me that, but not really. I've been getting pretty normal questions. Like they've been
Mm.
just, just asking about me, like who I am, how I grew up, things like that. And things I've been through. Just I think they just want to see if I'm just gonna be real with them. But I don't got nothing to hide. So
And you don't have to say who the teams are, but I'm always curious. Like sitting in your position right now, a few days
yeah,
before the draft, do does a player sitting in your spot have a decent idea of where you may be going, like what teams are more interested in you, or are you sitting there like literally it could be any of the teams at this point?
yeah, I'm clueless. I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea where I'm going. I wish I had a clue though. I feel like that's for like players that's going like in the earlier rounds. Maybe like they probably got a clue, but nah,
Yeah.
I'm clueless. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll all find out here soon, man. Um, so Russell, as you go through this process, man,
yeah,
and different NFL teams have this list of players that they're thinking about selecting. If you were to speak to an NFL GM or a scout, why should they select you? Why should they call your name? Why should they call your name on draft day?
yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm just a three down running back. There's not, you could just cut the tape on, and there's nothing I can't do from. And I've just been showing it, the last 3 years of me playing at the collegiate level, and I've just been playing at a high level for 3 years. I feel like so. And I feel like, I've been put in a lot of rough situations, so I'm prepared for any situation I'm going into. So my whole life, the odds been stacked against me, and I just continue to come out on top, man. And I'm a dog. I play with a chip on my shoulder, and I'm ready right now. Like I'm ready for this moment. So everything I've been through, I feel like prepared me for what's about to happen next.
But as we close it out here, I know, like we talked about, there's just a lot that happened even here at South Carolina in this little 1 year. But I know
Yeah,
a lot of Gamecock fans out there have really pulled for you and have
yeah.
wanted success for you, and they still are wishing for great success for you. So, do you kind of have, and not just at South Carolina, but do you have any maybe message for like your supporters and people you've met along the way that are definitely wishing you the best right now?
Yeah, definitely just wanted to say I appreciate everybody who's supporting me through this long journey, and especially just this year. Like I appreciate all the Gamecock fans, and and I just want everybody to know that my journey's far from over, and this really just the beginning. Like and I just can't wait to show the world who Rasul Faison really is.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, like I said, we appreciate you taking the time, Russell. What are your plans, by the way, like throughout the draft and the days
Yeah,
after that? Do you have anything set up or hanging out with
yeah,
some family, or what are you gonna do?
yeah. So I was debating having a draft party, but my family just they just wanted to really just celebrate how celebrate the position I'm in. So they was like, regardless of what happens on draft day, let's just have something. So on day 3 of the draft, I'm gonna have a little party with like some close family and friends, and they're actually gonna present me with the keys to the city of Pottstown, Pennsylvania. The mayor is going to that
Okay.
day as well. So it's just something special, just so they're just showing their appreciation and of me representing our hometown, things like that. So Saturday we're just gonna have fun and just it's gonna be fun just seeing everybody from my hometown and all the support. So it's gonna be a blessing for sure.
Did you ever think you'd be receiving a key to a city, man? Like that's a pretty unique
Yeah,
honor. What did you think when you heard that?
I just thought like I don't know what I thought, but I definitely like feel like I'm deserving of it. Because like from my hometown, it's like I feel like it's not too many kids make it to be in this position, and I just feel like I've been someone who been keeping like a lot of positivity going in our hometown, and just I just want to continue to be a good role model for the kids. So I feel like it's definitely like I definitely feel deserving for it for sure.
No doubt. All right, Russell. We'll be looking for some good news when the draft hits, man. And don't be a stranger, okay? Once you're out there, having big games in the NFL, maybe going for 1,000 yards in a season, you
For
have
sure.
to get back with us here on the show, okay, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you.
All right, that, of course, former Gamecock running back Rasul Faison joining us here on the show. And, of course, want to wish Rasul all the luck here coming up that he gets picked, and I appreciate him taking the time and his agency helping us set that up. Chris, let's kind of shift gears a little bit, man. We teased we're going to talk a little bit of men's basketball, so I want to get to that. But also, we got one more great sponsor that I know you want to tell everybody about.
Yeah, let's tell about about our friends over at Atsko. That's atsko.com, and that's ATSKO.com. Hunting, waterproofing, personal care products like skin protection, odor control, stuff for your hair and body, sun protection, and sensitive skin products, plus animal care products. Go check it out, atsko.com. They have been around for a long, long time and have a lot of really, really cool products for you. They got the zero UV residue scent, the complete scent and sight solution for hunters, Deer Sea UV brighteners. They've got repair all products. They got tent waterproofing. They got gear if you're going out to Alaska and you want to go take a trip out there, be in the wilderness, all sorts of stuff for you. So if you're an outdoors person and you don't know about Atsko, you need to go check them out. That's ATSKO.com. They've got sport wash, residue free laundry detergents, all sorts of amazing products run by our guy Lee Wiles. Shout out to him. Atsko.com, ATSKO.com.
I was just looking at the website. They got a lot of stuff on here, Chris.
It's amazing. They've been around for a long time, so they do a lot of really cool stuff over there.
I believe that's a trend with our supporters here on the show, man. Like they have businesses that have been around for a minute. So
yes,
obviously that is right for a reason. Let's shift gears a little bit, get into some South Carolina men's basketball, both staffing and the portal. Chris, 4 portal commitments now in the fold to go along with the 1 high school commitment of Marcus Johnson to South Carolina. And I feel like, we're kind of at the stage right now where with these 4 pledges, you're starting to get a feel for what this portal class is going to look like. But as we know, it is a complete rebuild of the roster. There are a few guys that stuck around and are going to be back. But other than that, just from a number standpoint, like you have to replace essentially 5 starters and several kind of reserve roles as well. So I think you can kind of go through this. And so South Carolina has, if you go through it in order, Corey Mincy kind of kicked things off. That was like borderline like a day 1 type commit, like a few days after the portal opened. He visits, actually committed before he even got on campus. Then a little bit of a surprise, Cameron Heide from Texas commits to South Carolina. Then Alexis Velasquez comes in from Wisconsin. That was one that was anticipated. And then Shane Blakeney, from Rock Hill commits to South Carolina on Sunday afternoon while visiting the school. So that's the 4-man class right now. And I feel like for as much kind of just hand-wringing as there's been, there's 4 guys right there that you can work with. Like there's some talent in this 4-man class right now. If you look at how they're ranked, Rivals actually has all 4 portal commits as 4-star prospects right now to varying degrees in terms of where they are nationally. But I think what people are saying and what people are asking us right now, Chris, is kind of, all right, what's next? And I think if you take those 4 guys and you keep adding pieces and you maybe can add a little bit more, like maybe one more dynamic guard, like we talked about with obviously they were not able to get Rowan from Tulane, but you were talking about like pairing him up with a guy like Corey Mincy, some of the bigs that they've been in the game with. Like, I feel like what people are saying next is like, all right, are they going to be able to pair these 4 guys up with kind of role players, or are you able to add some more sort of zest to go along with the 4 guys who are already coming in?
Zest is a great word. Yeah, I mean, that's where my head goes is we know that South Carolina has taken some swings this portal class of going out and getting, kind of that true big, right? There was some size on last year's roster, but it wasn't, someone you would classify as maybe like a true center, right? Jordan Butler, 7-footer, but often he was out on the perimeter. He's a guy that liked to shoot from the outside. And I think you've seen in some of South Carolina's targeting this offseason, Samet, the Turkish Tower from SMU, who is not coming to South Carolina, of course. But you saw that South Carolina, very much invested in that recruitment to try to land him. Who else is out there? They have brought in some size in this class, but Alexis from Wisconsin is also a guy who's, yes, he's 6'10", he has some size. He's another player that can shoot from the outside. Will there be a true, big in this class who's more of your true post type player? It seems like they've tried to prioritize that. There are still a lot of guys, Wes, even though the portal was closing, there's still a lot of guys out there, available who have not committed or signed somewhere. So we'll have to see ultimately, who those guys end up being. We've seen both ways in this transfer class, right? We've seen some guys, Corey Mincy very early. We've seen some guys that we've kind of been tracking for a while where there was a runway where you track them and they either don't sign or they do. And we've seen some guys that have kind of come out of nowhere and things have progressed very quickly. We try to run down as much of this stuff as we can, but there's still some other targets out there that South Carolina is working, and we'll see what they end up adding. But I do think adding more size in this class is something that's going to be a priority going forward.
For sure, man. I think there's still some more names that, there's going to have to be. There are some more names that are going to pop up either by way of us just finding out, hey, this guy's on campus. Like today, Jacob Nakis, who is visiting from Duquesne, where this guy pops up and we say, it's a new name. We didn't really know we were tracking him, but now we are. And he visits, or potentially some guys just like maybe a Camden Heidi where it's like, this guy just committed. And people say, I didn't know South Carolina was recruiting him. That's going to happen in the portal world the way things are right now. Unless you are like CIA level, have just broken in and looked at the big board, I'm guessing the more I get talking to other people in media, man, I feel like there's a little bit of this everywhere to where things happen so fast as well in the portal world that you don't always know every guy that a particular program is actually recruiting. Other changes at South Carolina, Chris, have come in the staffing part of things. And a big question has been, hey, will there be staff changes? As we know, one assistant coaching role has already been filled. But also, Chris, there's been this talk of kind of a mythical GM, if you will, a additional resource on the recruiting side. Whether they're actually called a general manager or not, we shall see. And I know we want people to come read on Gamecock Central. You had some stuff on this earlier in the week, but do you want to go into that just a little bit in terms of what you've heard on that side of things?
Yeah, let's do it. And by the way, Wes, speaking of getting people on Gamecock Central, don't we have a little bit of a sale going on that's expiring soon that we should probably tell people about?
We do.
I think we should. Do you mind pulling that up, the information, while I speak on the GM thing? So one of the things that we had heard this offseason, you heard several things going in. Once it became apparent that Lamont Paris was going to be back, we knew that, there was going to be significant roster turnover. How much was a question, but you knew there was going to be a lot. We had also heard that there would be additional support in kind of a scouting, evaluating, recruiting, team management, type role. And that there would also be some additional, just on-court staffing changes. So we've seen all of that play out except for the additional personnel. And so I don't know for sure that it's going to be titled general manager or GM. although I've been told it could end up being that. But it does seem that Lamont Paris is going to have somebody on the staff that's not just termed as an assistant coach. It's going to be someone who, even though the portal's closing, yes, someone with experience in this realm. I think it's going to end up being someone with some professional experience on the resume to help with whether it's team management, scouting, basically things that just take away from their day-to-day responsibilities of Lamont Paris and the coaching staff to kind of free them up to coach even more. And so we're still awaiting details on that. I don't have a name I can pass along, but I have been told that it seems very likely that that person, whoever it may be, could be in place soon. So that'll be an interesting additional layer to all of this.
Yeah, and Chris, obviously, the big question we've seen people respond, hey, why now? I mean, I think some of that, just putting the pieces together, has to just be a little bit of the logistics of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we like to think of these things in terms of just maybe the team we're covering, or if you're a fan, the team you're watching, your team. But the logistics of all this stuff do not take place in a vacuum. So if you're hiring a guy from, we see this in college as well. If you're hiring a guy from the NFL, you got to wait till the NFL season is over. If you're hiring a guy with NBA ties, or if he's at an NBA team, you probably, unless it's a very, very low level guy, are going to have to wait until that NBA season is over. So I think that's a factor in a lot of this as well. All right, guys, like Chris said, I don't have a full screen graphic, so I'm just going to have to chop our heads in half here. But 50% spring sale, 50% off Gamecock Central. And of course, as most of you probably already know, if you sign up, you get Gamecock Central, but you also get everything that goes along with that. We're, of course, a part of the On3 network, also Rivals. So all the national stuff, all the reporting on the basketball side from Jamie Shaw, from Joe Tipton, from Pete Nakos. Pete does some basketball stuff too. Obviously very highly involved in all the football stuff. You get access to all that reporting. Chris Lowe, one of the best to ever do it, I feel like, at the SEC level in terms of media. All that involved with your Gamecock Central subscription, and you can get it all, Chris, for 50% off.
Yep, come on. We'd love to have you. GamecockCentral.com. Hang out with us on the Insiders Forum. We love hanging out with y'all on the show. If you want to hang out even more, that'd be cool. Come on over to the Insiders Forum. You get everything on Rivals, On3, all that Wes just mentioned, access to all of our content all throughout the year at a great deal. So come on. We appreciate you being on the show. If you want to support us with that, it's not just supporting us, not a charity. You get all that really cool stuff too. So come hang out with us.
No doubt. All right, y'all, we're going to get out of here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Appreciate you hopping on, and appreciate all of our sponsors for making this show possible. He is Chris. I am Wes. We'll be back soon. Y'all have a good one.